Many people love Jabu Jabu's belly for its gorgeous dungeon design and obviously for carrying Ruto around. I mean, who wouldn't like to carry a fish around with you? Inside a fish. Anyway, we were wondering, what would people think if there wasn't one Jabu, but two Jabus? Or 6 Jabus? What? But let's start at the beginning, shall we? We covered a couple of things regarding the beta of Ocarina of Time already. However, there are a few things that we didn't touch yet, and Jabu Jabu is one of those things. While there are certainly things to cover inside Jabu Jabu's belly, we will have a look at the fish itself and his surroundings for now. What you can see here is a rather ordinary looking cutscene, with Jabu opening his mouth in order to consume Link after feeding him the fish. The first thing we notice is, there is no fish and there is no Link. Instead we see what seems to be a warp paddle. If we pay close attention, we can see Navi flying away from the camera, so Link is probably somewhere out of bounds, until he gets set into his initial position. The next thing that happens is a shot of Lord Jabu in the distance opening his mouth, who appears to have 2 sets of teeth. And this is where we come back to our original point. What you see here isn't a glitched Jabu or 2 Jabus. Those are 6 loaded Lord Jabu Jabus inside each other. We're not sure why this happens, but apparently this doesn't only affect Lord Jabu himself, but also the entire map. While the map might not be loaded 6 times, it sure is loaded more than once.
It's also lacking wall collisions, which we can't show off, as the amount of loaded objects exceeds the amount the game can handle, thus leading to a crash. Originally, we thought the reason that this happened is that the cutscenes were made rather early in development, when there wasn't a method to check loaded objects yet. So it cycles through the loading of the objects multiple times, as the loading method was changed and takes longer now. This doesn't make sense, however, as the cutscene value is still accessible. If the issue was messed up loading time, why would they start the entire cutscene over from scratch, leaving this one on the cartridge? But wait, according to the cutting room floor, the map is normal except for there being 2 Jabus. And this is something we certainly doubt. In fact, we're almost certain that this is not the case. If you watch our video on hard piece dumping, you might remember that the game console can handle up to 97 Skull Kids. The fact that even Seria has a more detailed model in the game than Lord Jabu Jabu makes it rather questionable that the console can't handle a second one due to its size and texture. Another argument is that the game has no issues displaying the Jabus, but crashes if we move too far away with the camera facing away from him. We don't know why the game crashes, and we don't know why it loads in so many of them. So this will probably remain a mystery forever. But let's head back to the cutscene, because there's more to it. The pad you see with the Ocarina icon on it is an early version of a song pad. You had to stand on it and play a song for something to happen. This suggests that it was once planned that you had to play a song in order to get into Jabu Jabu's belly, rather than feeding him a fish. And if we twist only a few bytes in the hex editor, this theory confirms itself. It is possible to play Zelda's lullaby on the pad and trigger the cutscene. If we do so, Link will get inhaled by Lord Jabu Jabu and then return onto the song pad in a T-pose, which is the standard for models if they have no animation assigned. Besides the fact that this huge, rather questionable cutscene still remains in the game, there's another thing to this. The cutscene can be accessed in almost any version of the game, with glitches. Obviously, we are talking about wrong warping here. If you get Farore's Wind on B, then go to the Carpenter's tent in Gerudo Village, go back out and place Farore's Wind, we can defeat King Dodongo and use this blue warp to perform a wrong warp into the Jabu Jabu beta cutscene. He won't be able to inhale us though, and the game crashes after we start moving. But it's still amazing though. However, there's more to this map. There's an unused introduction cutscene for the area, which can be accessed using a debug ROM.
If we were to access this one through a wrong warp as well, chances are that multiple Jabus would be loaded once again and we would encounter the same issue. And this is where you find a rather puzzling little fact about this map. If we use the debug ROM for either of those cutscenes, the map is fixed and can be accessed. It doesn't crash, but it does on the original game. The debug ROMs that were leaked in 2005 have been compiled in 2003. This is 5 years after the initial release of the game, and for some reason, those cutscenes were fixed in the debug ROMs. What is even weirder is that these cutscenes still remain broken in even later releases, which means that they were fixed in the debug ROMs only. No matter how you twist and turn this, it makes no sense. The fact that they have two sets of very similar cutscenes left in the game, but also that they fixed those later on in their very own development builds, which were never meant to be seen by the masses, still remain broken in later releases such as the GameCube edition, is really weird. The only thing no one has tried yet is to wrong warp into the cutscene on a debug ROM. If the issue occurs again, then it really has something to do with the way the game loads, and was never actually fixed on the debug ROM to begin with. But we didn't get around to test this. As you can see, Ocarina of Time is full of strange mysteries, and this is probably one of the bigger ones. The long development cycle left its marks, and it's amazing to see how many things the game must have gone through in order for those leftovers to even exist. Thank you for watching this week's video on the mysteries of Jabu Jabu. I might actually give it a shot to wrong warp there with the debug ROM, but until that happens, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our future videos.